It's Owen, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I am using Claude AI to run my coaching business. Now, we're going to jump onto the laptop in 1 minute, but first, we're going to just run through some important concepts you need to understand. If you are a beginner with AI and with Claude, do not worry. I'm not a techie person at all. I am in a AI coaching program, and without doubt, I am the dumbest person in the room, and it's great because I'm learning so much. So we are going to run through some basic concepts before we get started, and then we're going to jump onto the computer, onto the desktop, and actually look at Claude itself. So first and foremost, when you sign into Claude, Claude is just another large language model. It's like ChatGPT. If you've ever searched something in ChatGPT or voice noted ChatGPT, then you already have all of the skill set required to use Claude. When we sign into Claude, there are basically like three features, and you will sometimes see this along the top of the window. You've got chat, which is basically just chatting to Claude like you would with ChatGPT. We are not going to be using this. Over on the right hand side, you've got code. And again, this is for people who know code and who want to be coding. We're not going to be using this. We are going to be using a thing called Cowork. So when we think of Claude, when I use the word Claude, we're really talking about Claude Cowork. And Claude Cowork is basically this intermediate space where you can do all of the cool coding things and basically building AI employees without having to know anything about code. I have never written a line of code in my life. I don't know anything about coding, so do not worry. Claude Cowork, you can literally just talk to it and you can create an employee who never goes to sleep, who never gets sick, who shows up on time every single day, who always does the work, who does it to a high standard, who can be improved if you give him the right instructions. And so we're going to look at basically creating AI employees in your business to take away tons of stupid, annoying tasks that you don't want to be doing. And we're going to be using Claude Cowork. I'm just trying to get the black out of my red pen. This is what we're going to be using, Claude Cowork. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I have this listed as a feature or a tool. This is how untechy I am. I don't even know if these are features or tools of Claude. Doesn't matter. We are going to be using the Cowork option, and we'll look at that on the desktop as well. So first thing I want you to think about is just how you are using AI right now. So you're probably already using ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or another one of these tools, and you're probably using it like a search bar. Okay, so you're using it like you would with Google, Safari, something else, and you are going to your AI of choice and you are asking questions. Okay, so you're asking questions. My red pen is looking a bit worse for wear after I went on the black, but not to worry. You're asking questions and you're maybe discussing or you're maybe asking the AI to create something. So you might ask it to create, and then you're getting something, maybe it creates you a piece of content and you're editing it a little bit. Or maybe you get the answer and then you go and you work. Okay. So basically what's happening here is you're just, you're maybe speeding up the amount of work you can get done because AI is helping you to rewrite a piece of content or it's helping you to come up with ideas. But fundamentally, it's like you're sitting down and having a conversation with AI about how can I improve this area of my business? How can I create a piece of content? Can you help me? And fundamentally, you are still doing all the work. You're just now doing the work with AI, right? So you're doing the work with the tool that you're using. So that's kind of treating AI like a search bar, right? And that's useful. I still use it as a search bar at times for certain things, but you're typically just asking it questions and you're not getting the full power out of it. Now, I want you to think of AI as not a search bar, but an employee in your business. And not only one employee, as many employees as you want. Okay, so instead of asking questions, you are going to give instructions. Okay, and instructions of asking it to create something from scratch, you are going to give it rules, okay? So you're going to give it instructions. You're going to give it rules or standards for how you like your tasks to be done. You may still do a little bit of editing here and there, but typically you're going to get this employee to deliver a finished result or product, okay? So the idea is that the AI works, okay? Now, this might sound kind of like, well, what's the difference, right? But we're going to look at the difference because we're going to look at what makes a good employee, and you can do all of these things with Claude, and it's crazy. So what actually makes a good employee, and this will make sense when you see the desktop. First thing is an employee needs context, okay? An employee needs to know about your business. You can have the most hardworking, reliable, efficient employee in the world, but if they don't know anything about your business or your goals or what they're supposed to be doing, if they don't have context, they're not going to be a good employee. Thankfully, we can get Claude to remember context. So we can give it context. We can tell it all about you, about your business, about how you typically do things, about how to execute a certain task, about how to think about things from your point of view. We can give it all of that context and it can remember all of that context. Okay, and this is not just like it remembers things, you put it in once and it remembers, but it's like you can actually give it access to anything that you have. Okay, and we'll look at how to do that in a minute. But let's say you've got a sheet with all of your goals, or you've got a sheet with the numbers of your business, or you've got a sheet with all of your leads and clients. You can give Claude access so that it has all of this context. And that is the next thing that a good employee needs. It needs access, right? Because if they don't have access, it's like you can have the best employee, they can know everything about your business, but if they can't access anything in your business, they can't help you, right? It's like having a secretary. If your secretary is an incredibly hard worker, knows everything about the business, but she can't log into your emails and she can't answer your phone and she can't make appointments for you, she has no access, not going to be a great employee, right? So employees need context, they need access, and they need skills, okay? So they need to be really good at the jobs that they do, because somebody who knows all about your business can access all of your business, but sucks at actually doing the task is not going to be a good employee, okay? So they need skills, and these are things that we can build in Claude. We're going to look at that too. And then finally, they need to be reliable and they need to stick to a schedule, okay? So they need to be able to do the work without you coming and telling them every time, hey, I need you to start this work at 9 a.m. every day, right? You can't every single day have to remind your employee to come to work, right? They have to be able to show up and work on a daily schedule. They might have certain tasks they have to do every day or every hour or every 2 weeks or every month, whatever it is. They need to be able to stick to a schedule, and they need to be able to basically have agency and work without you telling them to work, okay? They need to be able to work because it's part of the job, and you don't have to tell them every single time to start a task, right? You tell them once, you do this task at this point in time or when it's needed, and then the employee does it, okay? Now, why did I share all of this? Because we are going to use Claude to create employees, and these employees cost you about $20 a month, okay? And we can give them context so they know all about your business. We can give them access to basically anything you have access to on a computer, you can give to Claude. You can build skills so that the things you're good at, you can make Claude good at and get it to do instead of you. You can build a schedule so that Claude works without you. It shows up at the same time every day and does the work. And you can give it agency where it's already got agency built in, where it can act on its own, where if you're having a conversation and Claude has the ability to do some skills, it will automatically start using those skills without you having to tell it to use the skills. So it's got agency, and it will also be able to react to certain things that happen in your business. So without further ado, let's jump to the laptop and let's create an AI employee. Okay, so first thing that you're going to want to do is to download the Claude desktop app. And this is very easy to do. I'll just share my screen now. So if you look up Claude AI, you are basically going to get brought through to the page which is basically the web page. Okay, and in the web page it kind of looks like ChatGPT. You can see I've got a few things written in here. I don't really use the web page. I was trying to kill fruit flies in the kitchen. I was trying to translate a pet shop, and I was doing some financial calculations. But typically I'm not using this, and you'll see that you've got a few different options here in the side. What we're going to do is we're not going to actually go in here, but we're going to look for the Claude desktop app, and then we're going to go to download Claude. And here we've got download Claude. I've got a Mac, so we will download it for Mac. I've already got it downloaded, but you will download it for your Mac or your mobile or whatever computer it is that you use. I would recommend doing this on a computer. And once it's downloaded, then you will be able to go straight to opening up Claude itself. So let's go over to Claude. Let me just stop this screen share and then open up Claude. Okay, so now we are going to look at Claude, and we're going to look at, where's Claude? Claude is hiding on me. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to look at Claude. So basically, when you open the Claude desktop app, this is what you're going to see. Now, obviously, this is quite full because I use it quite a lot. Along the top, I have got home and I have got code. Now, sometimes you will have chat, co-work, and code. So depending, if you have home, that's fine. If you have co-work, that's fine as well. So whatever you have here, home or co-work, that's what we're going to select. Now, you basically have the same functionality here as like any large language model. So you can click new task and, you can ask it a question. How is the weather in Dublin today? Okay, so again, this is I misspelled weather, but this is a very simple question and process, obviously. And like I said, I still use this kind of chat feature. It's useful. As you can see here, I have a chat about killing fruit flies in the kitchen. In the hot weather, the fruit flies tend to come in and try and steal all the fruit. So I've been having a bit of a battle with them. It's asking if it can have access here to access a weather site. And the reason that it's asking for access is because Claude is actually going and searching on my computer. Okay, so it's actually got access to my computer. It's not just searching the web, it's actually going and using my computer. That doesn't matter for now. All that matters is that you can still have a conversation here and it's going to give you an answer, right? A basic chat. You can see that it's searching the web here, and this is not a terrible thing, but it's not particularly useful right now. Search is override. I couldn't pull. I don't know what this is. So like, here's just an example, right, of like search. I bought this spray for killing flies, and I'm asking, what's the story with using it around my dog? Is it safe? Do we need to wash down the floors afterwards? Right. So this is just me having a conversation with Claude. Now, that is like very basic level. That's not really helping my business. It's useful to get an answer, but realistically, I could get that answer on Google or Safari or anywhere else. So this is just a chat. Now, if we just use chat, it's helpful, but it doesn't really unlock any power. It doesn't unlock any leverage. It doesn't really change our business in any meaningful way, because a lot of the time we are just getting generic replies and responses. So if we ask for a business strategy to Claude, it's going to search all of the internet for all of the business strategies, and then it's going to give me some generic answer, when the reality is that there are hundreds of strategies that could work, but it can't possibly know the right strategy for you without having context. And so that is basically the next thing that we need. So when we go to customize here in the left-hand side, we basically want to give Claude more context about us. And in the top, we've got general, and we've got these global instructions here, okay, for Claude. And this is basically giving Claude more context about you. So I have recently completed a values hierarchy exercise where I've gotten clear on what my values are, what's most important to me. And I want Claude to know what my values are, because it will help to make better decisions, to give me better recommendations, and to actually only build things that are in alignment with what I want. Okay, so my value hierarchy is here, and typically I really only work off the top 5 values, but I've given it more context than that. And it's got some beliefs, beliefs that I want to basically keep as important beliefs. I've got my weekly structure of how my week should look like. I've got, things that I want to do all the time. Decision filters for how I make decisions, and it's based on what serves my highest unmet value right now. It's also got access to my business vision and a bunch of other stuff in there as well, right? So there's loads and loads of stuff in there. It's got access to different documents. It's got access to loads and loads of context. So all of the important things that I value and that can help me to actually use Claude more effectively. So I've explained my primary currencies, where I'm based, where my clients are based, what I do work-wise. So Claude knows all of this kind of stuff. And then it's also got access to my different skills, which we'll look at in a little while. So basically, I've given Claude tons of access here. And then what I can also do is I can give it access to documents. So if you've got a document that explains loads about your business or loads about your clients, you can give it access to that. Another way that we can give Claude more context is we can give Claude access to call recordings. So if you are recording calls, which you should be with a note taker that basically summarizes and takes notes on all of your calls, you can automatically have Claude pull all of that data, and we can do that by using something called connectors. So I use Fathom, which is a call recording assistant. Basically, it takes notes on all of the calls. There's a free version. You don't even have to pay. I have the paid version because it gives me more context, but there's a free version if you want to use that. And basically with these connectors, this kind of comes back to the access thing. We want to be able to get Claude to work for us. But if Claude is just a chat and we have to just chat over and back, it can't work. So the reason that Claude can actually work for us like an employee is we can give it access to all of these things. So for me, it's got access to my Apple Notes. It's got access to my Google Chrome. So it can go and search things in Google Chrome. It can go and check my YouTube channel. It can go and check my Instagram account. It's got access to my MailChimp, which is where I send my emails from. It's got access to my Google Drive, which is basically where all of my documents live, so it can access all of that context. It's got access to my calendar, so it can see what calls are booked in. It can see what I have coming up this week. It's got access to my Gmail, so it can go and read emails. It can tell me what's important, what I need to reply to, what to ignore. It can also see when I'm signing up new clients, so it can keep track of my business as it moves forward. And then, of course, Fathom and Canva. So it's got access to all of these different tools. And this is just done by connectors. So you can come in here and you can select connectors, and then you can basically add connectors. So you'll click Browse Connectors, and there's all sorts of stuff that you can add in here. Now, pretty much everything I use I've already added, but there might be something down here. Zoom, for example. I use Google Meet, so Zoom is not connected for me. But maybe you use Zoom and you want Claude to be able to recap and take actions based on your Zoom meetings. So you would add Zoom here. Might be something else down here that more of you are using. Maybe you use DocuSign for signing up your clients and getting contracts, for example. Or maybe you use something like Ryanair, right? Like you could use Ryanair and you could get Claude to have access to your Ryanair account, and you could just voice note Claude and say, hey, I need to book flights. What are the options? Can you book these flights for me? And you can actually have Claude go and book flights and things like that for you as well. So it can actually be an employee, a full-time assistant working for you. So this is connectors, and this is where Claude gets its access. Okay, so let's just kind of recap on that. It needs, first and foremost, context. It needs to know about your business. And you can give it context by plugging it into your Gmail, plugging it into your calendar, plugging it into your Google Drive, giving it access to your email software, giving it access to your notes. I mean, so much context, right? Think of all the notes that you probably make in your phone, or the context about your business in your emails, from the emails that you send, or from the stuff that you have in Google Drive, or maybe you use something else that's not Google Drive, but wherever you keep all of your documents. If you have plans, if you have meal plans, if you have training plans, if you have client roadmaps, Claude can access all of this, and it basically starts to understand your business a lot better. So once it's got access to your different tools and the different things that you use, once it's got loads and loads of context, now we can basically actually start working on making it a skillful employee and getting it to show up in time and do some work. So Once everything is connected, we can now start looking at skills. Now, skills, quite simply, are instructions to do a task a certain way. Okay, and an example of a skill that I have got here, right, is YouTube ideation. Okay, and this is basically, think about when you go to ChatGPT and you say, hey, help me plan a YouTube. And then you talk to ChatGPT and typically it gives you something and then you don't really like what it gives and you have to edit it and mess around with it. Well, the skill is basically the instructions that give you the result that you want. And once you've got the instructions giving you a result, you can then actually create a skill that saves. And every time that I talk about YouTube, it will use this YouTube skill. So basically we can create a skill if we, maybe we'll create a skill together, right? You can create a skill with Claude or you can write skill instructions. But basically a skill, this is YouTube ideation. So let's say here's Owen running his YouTube channel. He's documenting building a solo 7-figure business from scratch. It's leveraged, it's automated, it's built on marketing psychology, economics, and AI. The model, everything that it's got a ton of context about what I'm building. The people that I typically help are coaches around the 3 to 5K per month mark who want to build a business to the next level. What makes a good video for this channel? Search first titles. This is the skill. And the skill is just all of these kind of instructions where every time I say, hey, Claude, help me design a YouTube video, it is going to use this skill and the result is going to be the same every time as opposed to having a bunch of different kinds of videos all of the time. And as I get better at YouTube, I can turn this skill into a better skill. And as I develop more skills, I can turn it into a skill. Another example of a skill is I recently read Pre-Sold, which is a book about high ticket closing. And then I took the book and I turned it into a skill. So every time that I ask Claude, hey, I want to work on something related to a high ticket sales process, or I want to work on something related to building an offer, or I want to work on getting more people to show up to sales calls, it's going to actually use this book and the knowledge base from Pre-Sold, which is 200 or 300 pages of a book. And instead of me having to remember every single element of the book, this skill will activate automatically and it will use all of the details from this book to help me to build a better offer or to build a better sales process or to understand things better. So basically you're turning Claude into like a secondary brain as well as an employee. And all of these skills that you can develop over time can be used again and again, and they can be improved again and again as well. So now, before you get lost, let's just build a skill and let's make this super, super simple, okay? So you might think, but how do I even build this? That looks so complicated. Honestly, it's so easy, right? So we're gonna come into our settings. We're here in settings. We've got skills down the bottom. And then we're going to click add in the top right. And we're basically going to create with Claude. And it's going to now give us some options, right? We can just ask about what the skill should be, or I can just voice note. So let's see if my voice note works here. I think it will, but I'm going to just say, hi, Claude. I want to create a skill that helps me to write YouTube titles that attract more views and that attract my ideal client. I want these titles to be based on high performing titles on other YouTube videos related to the topic. I want them to be the optimal length for YouTube titles for getting clicks. I don't want them to be clickbait or spammy, but I want them to be intriguing and very curiosity driven so that people click them. And I want them to clearly state what the video is going to cover. Okay, so basically I've told it what I want and I'm going to click send and we're going to see what comes back. So it's working now, thinking. Just give it 1 second. Because it's powerful, it's a little bit slower sometimes. So it's saying I'll build this as a proper skill two things I need to pin down first because they change how the skill works and one flag. You already have a YouTube ideation skill that also generates titles. So we need to decide how these relate. So how should the skill source the high performing competitors' titles from the models? And I'm going to say I want it to browse YouTube live. Okay, so basically it is going to go and it's going to search other people's titles on YouTube. You already have a YouTube ideation skill that generates titles too. How should this new title skill relate to it? And we will call this a standalone title skill. So basically I've already got a similar skill. So this is why it's saying, hey, do you want to have two skills that are kind of competing, or do I want this to be the same skill? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to fold it into my current YouTube skill. So I'm going to improve my current YouTube skill. But if it was for you and you've never built a skill before, you could just create this as a standard standalone skill. Because I've already got a YouTube skill, I'm going to just fold it in. So again, it's very, very simple to follow this process. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm improving my current skill, and we'll actually use the skill to generate a title for a YouTube video quite quickly. So now it's doing its thing. It's working away here. It's sourcing live titles from YouTube. So it's on Google Chrome right now, searching. If I go to my Google Chrome, I mightn't be able to share my screen, but I will see that Claude is searching on my Google Chrome. And it's going to basically, every time I edit this skill, anytime I ask for something related to YouTube, it's going to give me the same, it's going to use that skill. So it's not going to give me random results. Like, if you have 4 or 5 different threads going with ChatGPT, you're going to get 4 or 5 different results because there is no one global instruction set. Okay. With this, it's basically one skill set. And every time I ask for something related to YouTube, it is going to use this skill and it's going to go and search other people's titles and it's going to build me my titles. So I don't have to create the titles. And, over time, if we start to see that titles are working, I'll be able to improve this skill. Now, we just have to wait because it's writing the file. Obviously, quite a lot of work here. 6,000 characters already. So it does take a little bit of time. But these skills, while that's working, I can show you some other skills that I have, because you can basically build a skill for anything that you do over and over again. So I have got one skill here, which is, where is this skill? So, this is an ad hook creator skill, okay? And this is basically a skill that creates hooks for ads, okay? So if I'm writing ads and I want hooks, this skill basically generates hook options for paid social ads. And it basically uses different documents that I have that basically explain what makes a good ad. It uses market sophistication and awareness levels from another book that I've read. So there's a bunch of books and context that goes into this skill, but it basically helps me to build ad hooks that work. So let's go back and see if the YouTube skill is done. Yes, so the YouTube skill is done. So let's click Save Skill. We're going to upload and replace. And now we're going to say, use this skill to find me 5 title suggestions for a video breaking down Claude AI for coaches. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. This is obviously this video, by the way. I'm using Claude to find title suggestions for this video. And now it's going off to work. So I have to give it access. For the first time that I use it, I have to give it access. I didn't realize I'm on a free Zoom account. I usually use Google Meet, but I'm using Zoom for this. So this video will be wrapped up pretty shortly. It's actually, a little bit longer because I had this video running while I was on the whiteboard. So it looks like we've used a lot more time than we actually have. So basically, this is now going to go to work. Now, here's the cool thing. This skill can work, but I still have to ask it to work, right? Like if I continue to ask it, it's going to continue to get me results. But if you had to ask an employee to do the job every time, you'd end up spending so much time that it would just drive you mad. Okay, so what I can do is I can actually create a scheduled task. And this is like the last piece that ties this all together. And basically what is going to happen, I have some scheduled tasks running here, right? So you can see downloads, cleanup, desktop cleanup, morning brief, financial report, Friday audience numbers. Basically, every single day at a certain time, which is typically 11, I recently changed it to 6:45 because I want everything to be done early. This is going to run a scheduled task, okay? So basically this is a scheduled task. You can see I've set this up once and it's been running, you know, basically every day for the last few months. And basically I have told Claude, hey, every morning at 6:35, go to my downloads, organize and clean up anything that looks untidy. And so, you know, if you're anything like me, your computer probably ended up with loads of screenshots everywhere and documents and downloads and just chaos. And then, you know, you probably deleted it and cleaned it up every time you were on a plane because you had no internet. So you just kind of like fix it on the plane. That's what I used to do when I would travel. I would just spend my time traveling, like cleaning up my desktop. Complete waste of time, like, you know, not a valuable use of my time. Claude does that every day for me. And that just keeps my desktop tidy at all times. It's such a small thing, but it's always tidy. So I've got one for my downloads and I've got one for my desktop. I've also got a morning brief, which basically I won't share it just because it'll have client names and maybe client numbers and stuff like that as well. Financial report, the same. And Friday audience numbers. This Friday audience numbers is basically a scheduled task that every Friday morning it goes and it checks my YouTube to see how much it's grown. It checks my email list. It checks my Instagram. It checks all my book calls. It basically checks absolutely everything about my business so that I can see what's been happening in the business this week. Now, to create a scheduled task, and we'll just see is the YouTube title skill. Okay, so here we go. This is gone and it's basically, you know, read other titles and then given me suggestions for titles. And this is not, you know, based on the general internet. It's actually gone and searched YouTube to find the highest performing videos. It's also said that the highest performing videos all sit in the 50 to 56 character band, and they all have Claude or How front loaded, right? And the coach signal early. Okay, so nobody owns Claude AI for coaches on YouTube. So basically, these are all of the titles. How I use Claude AI to run my coaching business solo, Claude AI for coaches, the 5 prompts I use every day, learning Claude AI for your coaching business in 15 minutes. So it's got a bunch of these titles and they're good. And I can obviously choose some of those. Now, here's where it gets cool because you might be like, yeah, Owen, but I can do that whenever. Okay, so now I'm going to go create with Claude. And I'm going to create a scheduled task. So I go to schedule task up here on the left. I go to create and I say, every Monday, I want you to use my YouTube skill to search the best performing titles in my niche and give me 3 to 5 suggestions. Oh, so I put that in the wrong place. These are just suggestions. So basically every Monday at 6:35 a.m., I want you to use my YouTube skill to research the best performing titles in my niche and give me 3 to 5 suggestions. Okay, so I'm sending that now. And it's basically going to automatically run that skill once a week. Okay, so every Monday it's going to automatically run that skill. Now, I've built the skill. I can improve the skill over time. It's got access, so schedule. And now that skill is going to always run. So every Monday morning, I'm going to get a document. I don't have to do anything. I just log onto my computer. We'll go to it and run it now. But basically done. Every Monday at 6:35 a.m., Claude will run your YouTube ideation skill. It will research the top performing titles in your niche and it will hand you 3 to 5 model title suggestions with the pattern each is based on, the psychological angle and a thumbnail direction. 2 things, it only runs while the app is open. If it's closed, it fires in the next launch. So if my computer is closed, it will fire when I turn the computer on. Now, I need to just hit run now to give it permission. So I'm going to go back to scheduled tasks. And now I've got the weekly YouTube titles. I'm going to click run now. And now this is running here. Okay, so this is basically what it does, but it will do this automatically every Monday morning. And I can set it for every Monday. I can set it for once a month. So I recently built a skill which is for basically it goes and it searches all of my invoices. So it goes and it reads all my emails. It finds my invoices for the previous month. I give it a statement. It tracks the payouts from my business to myself. It tracks the expenses of the business. It tracks absolutely everything. And I can get that to automatically run once a month. So basically it's like my accountant. There's a couple of things that I need to still put in, but the majority of the accounting process has been outsourced to Claude. And you can build automations and schedule tasks and skills to do everything in the business. I mean, pretty much everything. It's crazy. Even here, I've got a little body weight progress chart. It's helping me to track my fat loss phase in here in Claude. It's just there, active every day, shows me my current weight, my lowest, my lost weight, my goal, and the progress towards that goal. I have a net worth tracker, which once a week it goes and it pulls from my net worth document. It pulls from my cash flow document. I've got another one that pulls from my business document. So basically every week, all of the kind of manual tasks that I used to be doing, the tracking of metrics, the tracking of audience, the tracking of sales in the business, the tracking and collection of invoices, all of the accounting stuff, the cleaning up of my computer, all of that manual stuff has now been removed. And even things like this can be automated, where this runs every single Monday and I just show up and then I have the titles and I can focus on the stuff that is actually high leverage. I can focus on the stuff that's actually bringing sales to my business. I can focus on creating the videos. I can focus on content creation, the stuff that nobody else can do. And I don't actually use Claude for content creation. I use it for ideation and coming up with ideas. But then the content itself, I like to perform myself, because I think content is one of your leverage points. And I think using AI for content is a bad way to use AI. So this is basically, the kind of stuff that you can do. Now, my advice to you, if you're new to this as well, is like, you just have to use it and you just have to start running everything through it, because I'm not techie and this confused me at the start. But honestly, if you are not using AI in your business, you will be left behind. And that's not fear-based marketing or anything like that. It's just like, how can you compete? I'm not even good at this. Like, I'm not an AI expert. I'm not a tech expert. I have a mentor who mentors me on AI, and I'm in an AI community, so I'm learning a lot there. But like, there are people who are literally building factories, like people are going to do billions, trillions of dollars with one person businesses, because they literally can build a full team. So if you're not using it in any way, you are going to be left behind by the people who are using it, because this is coming through automatically based on the kind of things that I am doing. So I have a $17 product, and it knows that, it has the context. So now it's pulling up YouTube videos that have done well. How my $7 sales funnel has made 3.2 million in 12 months. Okay. Basically, these are different titles that are in my niche and that are related. So that is it for now. Send me a message with your number one biggest AI question, the biggest thing you're not sure about, you're confused about. Just send me a message and ask me that question, and I will help you figure this out further, because I know it's probably a little bit new for you, but hopefully it was useful.